Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the difference between reselling concerts and sports tickets, which are better and which tickets should you be reselling. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at some of the main differences, similarities, and what makes one better than the other. So what tickets are better to resell? Let's take a look at some of the differences, and we're going to go ahead and start off with sports. So the benefit of sports tickets is that there is a wide variety of events throughout the year, from basketball, football, baseball, even soccer and tennis games. There is a wide variety of different events throughout the year and various different seasons. So there is a lot of tickets that you can target and go after for different kinds of events. The second benefit of sports tickets is that there is consistent demand for popular teams. So teams such as the New England Patriots, the Saints, a lot of these different teams draw a lot of demand, and they have raving fans that are always going to be there, always looking to get tickets to see their favorite team. So that's, again, one of the huge benefits of sports, is that there are really raving fans for these kinds of teams and events. The third benefit is that the potential for higher resale value or bigger profit for playoffs and championship games is always there if your team ends up performing well. So for the Soccer Champions Tour, we can see that tickets that cost, about $9,600 ended up selling for $14,000, and you made a $5,000 profit because of the significance of the specific event and how it performed. So that's really interesting to see. And again, one of the main benefits is that if your team makes it later into the season, the profit margin can increase significantly. So now, what are the downsides of reselling sports tickets? So let's take a look at some of those downsides. So limited availability for highly demanded events. So it can be hard to get season tickets or to buy tickets later on in the season if the event has a lot of fans, a lot of people that are already looking to buy these tickets. It can be hard to get these tickets, especially hard to get a good deal if you don't have that season tickets pass, which again, you have to buy essentially at the beginning of the year if you're approved. The second downside is that there are strict rules and regulations for selling tickets for some teams that are a little bit more stringent. So some teams only allow you to sell 50% of the tickets that you have, which can be a huge hindrance and really get in the way of making profit if you're looking to resell those tickets. There are ways to sort of circumvent or get around these limitations, but again, that's just going to be one of those downsides that you have to keep in mind when it comes to selling sports tickets and selling your season tickets. The third downside is fluctuating demand based on the team's performance and popularity. So if your team is not doing that well that year, even though you have season tickets, maybe last year your $6 tickets were going for $100, maybe now they're only selling for $40, $30 or even less because the team is just not doing so well. And then if they get knocked out in earlier on in the season, again, that's just not going to be as valuable of a year. So although it's consistent year over year where you have tickets to sell, not every year will you be making, as much money as certain years that your team ends up performing really, really well. So keep that in mind. The time frame, for selling sports tickets is also a little bit varied. So shorter time frames for high demand events like playoffs or finals, but it can take a lot longer timeframes to sell regular season tickets. So you buy season tickets a year in advance and you're sort of holding onto those and selling them month by month. So keep that in mind. You do buy your season tickets pass and then you sort of sell them month by month, but there is that initial big upfront cost with a season tickets pass that's different from the way that concerts work. Sports tickets profit expectations are also very interesting. So for regular games and regular tickets, anywhere from 10 to 50% margin, that's going to be really good. Let's say you buy a ticket for $20, you end up selling it for, $30, $40, $50 even on the high end. But then again, if your team makes it to the playoffs or the championships, that $20 ticket could be going for $200, $300, $400. So again, there can be a really big difference there depending on how the team is performing that year. So you're really really dependent on how the team actually performs and if they're winning their games or not. So that's a big factor. Again, that's going to be very different from concerts. So speaking of concerts, let's go ahead and look at how concerts work and what some of the differences or benefits are there. So the benefit of concert tickets is that there is a wide variety of artists appealing to a lot of different and various audiences. People from all walks of life are interested in concerts, and somebody's going to like some sort of music. So from EDM to orchestra music that appeals maybe to an older demographic, to rappers, and a lot of other different kinds of artists. So that's one of the big benefits, is the variety. The second benefit of concerts is that they have a dedicated fan base. So if you're a big fan of Taylor Swift, you're a big fan of, Billy Joel or whatever artist you're a fan of, there's going to be consistent raving fans for those artists. And year after year, you can sort of expect that there's going to be a certain amount of fans that are always going to go to those shows. So similar to sports, but that's one of the benefits that are shared between sports and concerts, is that they have their dedicated fan bases. So again, big fans are a big win for concerts, and they're the fans that are usually going to be willing to pay a premium for the best seats and the best experience. So the third benefit for concert tickets is the potential for higher resale value for sold out or really highly anticipated events. So events that are really popular this year or just happen to catch fire in the media or in the news, those events are going to draw a huge demand, not to mention any specific names. But we all know that Taylor Swift was able to draw some pretty insane, crowds and pretty insane margins on her tickets. So 2 tickets that cost $854 sold for near $3,000 a piece for a $4,505 profit on just 2 tickets. So pretty wild to see. Those are the benefits of concerts. Now going into the downside of concert tickets is that there is limited availability for popular artists or bands. So sometimes it can be hard to get tickets for the really highly demanded events. So as you know, waiting in a waiting room or in the queue, sometimes you'll not be able to get in there until there's only a very limited amount of tickets available. So again, this kind of waiting game is sort of random, and sometimes you'll be able to get good seats that you can resell for a profit. Sometimes you'll get seats further back in the third or fourth sections, and that those are not going to perform quite as well. So you have to keep in mind that it can be hard to get really good seats. So you have to sort of find other ways to get these highly demanded events. The second downside is the restrictions and regulations from some venues, artists, or even Ticketmaster to resell those tickets. So delivery delayed tickets can sometimes be a problem. For example, this event is delivery delayed, which means you actually can sell the ticket in advance, but if you can't deliver the ticket to the buyer until a few days before the event, you're actually not going to be able to get paid until closer to the event date. So upwards of 3 days before the event, that's when you can get paid, which can be a problem for, getting your cash back and then reinvesting that into the next event. So keep in mind those kinds of limitations. Not all events are delivery delayed. I would say only about 5 to 10% are really delayed like this. But it can be one of those downsides, which is just the restriction on your ability to transfer it. The third downside is fluctuating demand based on the artist's popularity. So if an artist is performing really well for a couple of years and maybe you expect them to do well again, but then it doesn't actually perform quite as well. So for an example, Pink, an artist that was ending up selling stadiums, let's say 5 to 7 years ago, now had a recent tour, and that tour didn't perform nearly as well because her fan base sort of outgrew her music, or maybe she just sort of lost a lot of her popularity. So keep in mind that if an artist is not really in the news, not really getting much attention in the media, just because they were popular in the past doesn't mean that they are necessarily gonna really sell or make quite as much of a profit margin for you as they may have in the past. So that's important to keep in mind. The time frame for selling concert tickets is also a little bit different. So concert tickets can be sold a lot quicker than sports tickets because you can sell them within a couple of hours, within a couple of days, between the pre-sale and the on-sale period when the biggest fans are ready to buy tickets. So as soon as an event is announced, the biggest fans are going to be there ready to buy tickets. So that can be a big benefit. And on the other hand, it can be longer timelines for general admission events and extended tours. So if an artist is adding additional shows, or if it's a GA event where the seats are just standing seats, there's not actually, a spot that you're given, fans will often wait until a couple weeks before the event, because it doesn't matter if I buy my seat, today or in a month from now, because you're really just getting the same experience at the end of the day. So keep in mind that for seats, you can sell really quickly. For GA events or standing events, it can take longer to sell your tickets. So again, that's one of the differences between sports and concerts. The potential profit margin from concerts for popular artists and bands can be anywhere from 20 to 100%. So your $50 ticket can sell for, $70 to $100. And then for sold out or again, highly anticipated events, your $100 ticket could be going for $200 upwards to $600 based on how much demand there is for that event. So the demand depends on the face value. Again, some artists, if the tickets cost $30, maybe you can sell them for $100. But if the ticket starts off at $100, you might not be able to sell it for $70 more again at $170. So that initial face value, or what it costs you to buy it initially, can play a big factor in, how much profit you can really make. Secondly is just the general artist popularity. Are they really trending currently? Are they relevant? Are they able to sell their particular city? And are their fans willing to come out to the shows? Sometimes an artist can have a lot of fans online, but they just don't really draw the crowd to come out to a concert. So keep those kinds of things in mind. And that's the kind of stuff that we really cover in our members course as well. So lastly, it also depends on the venue size. So is the artist selling a 2,000 capacity venue, a 5,000 capacity venue, or are they trying to perform in stadiums where it's going to be a lot harder to really sell it out and then be able to make money on the premium or the profit margin that's going to be available if there's still a lot of seats available essentially for face value. So, and then lastly, the scarcity of tickets. Obviously, how many tickets are available? That's going to be a big part of it. If there's a lot of tickets still left for sale, that demand is never going to be as high and you won't make quite as much money. So in conclusion, when you're looking at concerts and sports, you can make money on both different kinds of events, but there are some main differences. For concerts, they're a little bit more predictable because you're able to look at sort of the artist's data and the artist's trends and kind of see how they're sort of stacking up against other artists right now. I would say concerts is overall a little bit better for newer resellers because you can sort of dive into it a little bit faster, and it's easier than getting season tickets. You can just go ahead and buy a couple of tickets and start there, and you can usually sell your tickets faster. So those are the benefits of concerts. On the flip hand, sports are more consistent demand, so you know that year after year you're going to be able to sell those tickets. And if you have season tickets, you're going to be able to get those $6 tickets and sell them for a profit every single year. Even if you're not making that much money, you can always consistently expect to make some money on your tickets. And there's also a higher potential profit if those teams end up performing really well. And generally, sports is better for experienced sellers. They usually prefer to focus on sports because, again, it's a little bit more consistent, but it does take a little bit more work. So overall, both are great, but you should honestly just start with whatever you feel more comfortable with. And at the end of the day, you really should know how to resell both concerts and sports. Thanks for joining me on this video, and I will catch you all in the next video.